of the film?
Loved it.
I only saw it once with an audience when it was in release. I saw it at like the Chinese, no, the Egyptian, yeah, the Chinese, one of those, with one with handprints.
Chinese theater.
Yeah, and it's weird. I liked it a lot better now than then. When I saw it then, I thought it died on the screen except for our sections. Seriously, that's what I thought. You know, our sections, it's like spring to life. The rest of it was kind of like, oh God.
Well,
Now watching it now, it's great. I like the whole thing.
No, and it's and I just recently saw it at the Chinese for basically for the same reason we were playing it here. And yeah, no, I was actually impressed. Like the thing is, when they did the Blu-ray, they actually punched it up a lot because originally when it came out in the theater, and I still have the Laserdisc of it, everything was kind of the palettes muted down. And for once, they actually kind of improved on the whole look of the film because when you make some of the colors pop, which they didn't originally, and that was intentional for it not to be. They were going for like a 1940s kind of film look. But you know, they actually came out quite nice.
The reds and all that. Really.
Yeah, no, it's like I like how the Blu-ray came out, and
Well,
they
actually-
removed all the solder. You know, you can't see all that like this stuff from coming, especially on the big screen. I was like, oh, you know, you see like because every time a retake would get called, they'd go back to Korea and they just take the same cells, shoot it again, and every time you take a cell out, dust gets on it. So that was actually a really clean look.
Well, this film is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year in December.
I'm old.
And the entire Batman animated series is coming out on Blu-ray for the first time next
Yes.
month. And it's going to be remastered just like this. So,
Yeah, and they actually interviewed me as one of the commentaries on it. So,
oh really?
yeah.
How was that?
It was great. They were really nice. You know, it's like I went there. It's like, you know, actually they were interviewing Bruce, but you know, just before me. I hadn't seen Bruce for a while. It was really cool to see him again.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into working on the animated series and the film.
They were done with season 1, weren't they? By the
Yeah,
time they did the
this
movie.
was-
This sort of like a in-between thing.
This came about, originally it was supposed to be a direct-to-video project, and then Warner Brothers, because we had finished the first season, and Warner Brothers, God bless them, said, you know, we don't want to lose any of the talent we have here. We are doing a second season, but there was like a brief hiatus where more
Yeah, was that
scripts were
winter?
written. Yeah. So they actually scheduled this, it was scheduled just like it was an episode of the show. And it was done that fast. Because you had my crew, you know, I was one of the directors, Dan had his crew, Boyd, and, you know, and I don't know if Frank, I don't know if Frank had a crew at that time or not. I
Yeah,
can't
he might
remember.
have moved on by that point.
Yeah, I think
he might have
he-
gone over to Gargoyles.
But his boards are in here. There are boards by Frank Parr in here. You know, I remember the jujitsu stuff was, you know, where they with the
No, I
umbrella.
never. One of my big regrets is this is the one thing I didn't save a copy of.
You didn't?
I did not. I did
I
not
was
save a
counting on
copy
you,
of this
Brad.
board. Well, the thing is, I was working. My last day at WB was Friday, and everybody else that same day went out to see the the second Batman movie, the one with Michelle Pfeiffer
Right.
and Danny
Batman
DeVito.
Returns.
They all
Yeah.
took a field trip out to the nearby cinema to see that. I was stuck in the office finishing my deadline and taking care of somebody who left their little puppy dog. I was like babysitting a puppy dog, finishing this, and at 4:30 I finished the storyboard, and I wanted to get the fuck out of Dodge. So I didn't keep a copy of the board. I assumed I'd be able to get one later. I never did, and what I do have, and I brought it with me here today, is a copy of my rough board for my 2-second sequence, which was with the City of the Future stuff.
Yeah.
So I have the rough board to most of those, so y'all can look at it at some
Yeah.
point.
No, on this one, each crew, and I remember, because my crew, and you know, Mike Gogan, Brad, Mark Wallace, and myself, we only got to do, well, actually, it wasn't even Mark Wallace, but we actually only got to do one Joker show, The Last Laugh. And the script was garbage. And so it was a struggle for us to actually do a decent Joker, and that was when Tim Curry was doing the voice. I never got to work with Mark Hamill. So when this came about, and it's the origin, by the way, this is a better origin of the Joker than anyone's come up with.
I agree.
And that was Alan Burnett's idea, no question. So it was like, so I went to Bruce and Eric, and I just said, look, you keep handing out the Joker stuff to everyone else. Please let me see Mark Hamill perform. You keep talking about it, and it's like, so you're denying me? It's like, so they went, no, yeah, of course. So all of the Joker stuff we got to do. Probably, especially looking at it now, it's like I like the stuff that Brad and I did. Like we did the stuff at the City of the Future. Brad did all the stuff with Hazel, you know, and I did the stuff in the Miniature City and like, you know, the Rocket Pack and things like that. But my favorite stuff that I really like is what Mike Goguen did with Hart Bochner's character, where he's like, you know, in the hospital and stuff, and where the Joker comes and busts into his office and does like, you know, oh, you know, what a great photo op, you know, and, you know, the counselor and his wacky pal. It's like that's really great stuff. Anyhow, but I got to do the Joker finally, and the next season I got to do more Jokers. So.
Well, with Joker, and now I guess in this film, Andrea Beaumont's kind of the femme fatale of the film. And looking at all of the animated series, do you think that she's the greatest femme fatale, or do you like Catwoman more, or Talia al Ghul? Who's your favorite of Batman's
don't make me.
love interest?
Well, his real, I mean, this takes place in that. The thing I liked about this was it's like, this is actually Batman Year One. You know, this is a better Batman Year One than the animated Batman Year One they did. It's like, this makes sense. It actually does make sense. And the relationship between, I'll get to femme fatales, but the relationship between how, you know, Alfred, the personality of Alfred with Bruce Wayne is fantastic in this one. You know, and I think this is how they should go. And Andrea Beaumont happens long before Catwoman, Talia, and all that. That's where I think this takes place. This is right before all that takes place. For my money, I mean, you know, there's like, you can't, Catwoman is there, but Talia al Ghul is the one that gets Batman. You know, she is the one that I think is like probably the great love of his life. He can come up with other characters, Vicky Vale, whoever. And he's just playing with them. He's just a playboy for them. But Talia actually is the love interest. I think that's, and they also, as a fighting team, they're really good together.
Oh, yeah.
And against each other.
And against each other.
Well, one of my disappointments with this movie was I thought Bruce Timm's design for Andrea Beaumont was really bland, and I ignored it. I did, because I had been told that she was based off Lauren Bacall. So I went and I spent a night sketching Lauren Bacall off of Laserdiscs, and I ignored the character design and drew Lauren Bacall off of my sketches. And
just for the record, I like the design.
well, I
thought the drawing's great.
Well, the weird thing about it is, I didn't get my ass kicked for that.
Because it looks right.
Well, I was going through, I was digging all my shit out for this situation we have here today. This event. And I was like thinking about it, going, wow. Nobody said anything about it.
No,
because I didn't go around advertising it or anything. I just did it. And it was like, okay, fine, whatever. And then it looks like how it looks on the screen.
But also when you got the character, it's like she pulls the outfit off, you know. When you were drawing her, it's like it's all action stuff anyway.
Right.
So I
It's
don't
true.
think anyone was like scrutinizing it.
Yeah, apparently not.
I was gonna go and take the drawings that you did, and I went into Bruce's office and went, look what he's done. No,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't do that.
Well, I mean, I
It
thought,
looked
I
great.
don't know.
It looked good. It looked
Well,
good. as
I
it
thought
was.
so, which is one of the reasons why I really, really deeply regret not having to spend another couple of hours in Xeroxing the thing before I split it.
What happened to the dog?
Oh, I don't know. Somebody took it.
Okay.
It was like basically I had to. It kept because it was a real little puppy. It wasn't housebroken yet. And I had to keep cleaning up after it, and making sure it stayed in that one place. You know, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
It was really cute though. I felt.
Wasn't it your dog?
No, it wasn't. It had nothing to do with me. It was just somebody's dog.
Okay.
And I never did see the second Batman movie either. All these years I've never seen it.
Well, Michelle Pfeiffer's worth seeing. Let me tell you. Rest of the movie.
Well, I felt that way about the first movie, which is kind of like, I was really, 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 really looking forward to it, and then I saw it and it was kind of like, huh, Tim Burton cannot tell his way out of a paper bag storytelling.
Again, I don't agree with that one.
Like they were quoted.
I like Sleepy Hollow myself.
Never saw it. I liked,
Andy did a great job on Sweeney Todd.
I liked the one he did about the really bad filmmaker played by
Ed
Ed
Wood.
Wood. I thought that was
There's
amazing.
another one. See?
Yeah.
So he can tell us.
Yeah, he
tell
can.
a story.
He just often doesn't.
Anyhow.
Well, kind of talking about Tim Burton and how the animated series is kind of inspired by the look of, I guess, the Burton.
Actually, it wasn't.
What was it?
No, it was the opportunity happened because of the Tim Burton movie. Obviously, Warner Brothers had a lot of success with Tiny Toons, but that's all they were doing was Tiny Toons. And so when this came about, the movie did so well. Gene McCurdy and Tom Ruger were the only people in charge over there. It was pretty much a corridor. It wasn't like a big production. They just had the one show, Tiny Toons. So when they said, let's do a Batman cartoon, the mandate actually came from on top for it to be like Fleischer's Superman's. I heard it from Gene McCurdy herself that she wanted it to look like Fleischer's Superman's, or that to be the inspiration. Can we do this? And Bruce Timm, and I don't know about Eric, but I think Bruce Timm was just in a Tiny Toons meeting, if I remember correctly, where they were just talking about we're going to do a Batman cartoon, and Bruce, being Bruce, just did. You mean like this? Oh, you're the producer. That's kind of how it happened. And Eric, I guess, was doing backgrounds or whatever, but he did like a background painting based on a black construction paper, and that became the look of it. That was the look.
Noir look.
Yeah.
Grew from that.
And Gene, I guess, and I think Tom too, but Gene certainly, they gave these guys a chance. I don't think they ever even directed anything before. They were just board artists and background guys. Bruce, I think, only did boards at that point. I don't even think he was doing character designs.
He's got a question back here.
Chance.
Yeah, did you do the Bat Duck and the Boy Hostage on Tiny Toons
Yeah,
before all this?
yeah,
And then he had the Michael Keaton cameo where you unzip the suit and
yeah.
so he was already thinking about it, obviously.
Well, no, I remember back in 1989 when we were all working at DIC, Bruce brought in, because he was trying to do comics, he brought in some sample pages he'd done for Batman. I looked at those, it was like Eisner, only realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like amazing stuff, and I was like, shit, he can't get published. And
Yeah. Yeah,
I
they
told
turned
Bruce
him
about
down.
that later, and he had no memory of it. It was very strange.
Yeah, well, Bruce wasn't a deke for too long. He was on Cops with us for a while,
Right.
and he did like some character designs. Oh, the Cops
Well, he was doing
characters.
character
and I
designs
went-
on Spiral Zone.
Yeah, well, no, after that, after Cops. Yeah, that was
Maybe.
after Cops. Yeah,
Right.
it was around.
Around that same time, within the same couple of
Yeah.
years period,
But I remember he did some great designs for cops, and I thought, wow, yes, this is the style of the show. And Peter Chung didn't like them, so we went with the Peter Chung designs instead. So I don't know. Yeah, Bruce wasn't really a character designer much before Batman. Obviously, he has the talent.
So working in that kind of noir look, what were the biggest challenges to kind of put Batman and his characters and Gotham within that look as a director and artist that you kind of came
The
across?
challenge and the joy are the same thing. I really got off on doing the lighting, like making the lighting a part of the filmmaking. And you saw a lot of that in here, like in the sequence where Batman comes in on the laughing DA, like the way the shadows come in and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, this was like one of the first times. I mean, we would do it at Deke off and on, and I even worked on Lion King at Disney Feature. And even there, it's like everything's compromised, everything was compromised. Whereas here, we were only compromised by limited animation. And then once in a while you get like actually on Leather Wings, the first one, man, like we went all out on just using black. I had like objections. I remember I was doing, I did the Batcave stuff on purpose because it was just talking heads between Batman, Bruce, and Alfred, just because I wanted to prove that you could read the character, Alfred, standing in front of something with black backgrounds. And you can see everything. You can see him move, you can see everything without an outline for the character and without highlights in his clothing. And it totally worked. They said it wouldn't work, and we knew, because he would walk in front of, he'd be in completely black, and basically all you see is his head and cuffs and his hands. And then he would walk in front of the computer and you'd see everything. No one ever questioned it. So that was like kind of the fun of it.
Earlier you talked about character design, and I know you've worked on many of the episodes that featured villains like Peter Play and Two-Face. And what was your experience kind of almost reinventing these classic characters for this show? Because it was kind of introduced to almost a new audience. So how was that in terms of directing and drawing?
Well, I don't know about Brad. For me, I mean, it's like when I started the series, it was like I had preconceived ideas about what I'd always wanted to do with Batman that went right back to when I was 13 years old, or 9 years old or 8 years old. And you actually got to do them, At first, the scripts were pretty bad. On Leather Wings was a great script, but the story editors would not hire Mitch Bryan again. I was like, well, that guy was great. He was like, yeah, mutter, grumble. We have friends. We're hiring this guy. You better like him. And the scripts were, you remember, the first scripts were pretty bad.
Yep. Well,
the first batch.
I don't remember really.
Like Last Laugh was completely like.
That was the one that ends in the. That was another one I didn't save a copy of.
Yeah.
That was the one where it ends in the junk.
Yeah, in the junkyard.
Big junkyard. Yeah.
Which we had to completely reconstruct everything to make it interesting.
Well, you're right, and on the other hand, we were allowed to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I always thought other directors' episodes suffered from is they seemed to be more attached to the scripts than our unit was.
That's because I'm a troublemaker.
Well, one of the things that always bothered me was like they'd have 2 or 3 thugs fighting Batman, and they'd be giving him a run for his money.
Yeah.
And that always struck me as just, no. He could take them out with one hand behind his back without even trying. He's wasting screen time fighting run-of-the-mill thugs, and we never did that.
No.
And in fact, I think we got a couple things like that, and it's like, no.
Now I do remember too. Well, It was like there was like an On Leather Wings. You did the part where you don't see Man Bat, but he picks this guy up, the guard, and throws him through a window. That was the original cut. You got broadcast standards that said you must show that this guy isn't dead. So we got to see him land. Either he's got to land in a bush or he's got to land in water. Now, I'd heard it from I won't say who the directors were, but other directors said, oh yeah, land in a bush? I'll show you. And they'll give you the stupidest bush, and he'll land in there. See, there's your stupid bush. And I'm like, that's dumb, man. It's like, now you got a stupid bush in your show. Whereas what we had was, Brad's shot is like, and I added a shot after Brad. Okay, he throws him through the window. I keep that shot. They accept the window shattering, okay. And then I show there's like a sewer that's about 20 stories down. And the guy, like the coyote, goes, ah! Splash. And it's like, and everyone's like, yes! So that's kind of what, there's always like a more dramatic, rewarding way to answer what broadcast standards want. And the thing is, and when Alan Burnett came on, after the first scripts, we had trouble. Warner Brothers agreed, Gene McCurdy agreed, and we got a new story editor. And they go, Alan Burnett, you familiar with his work? And I'm like, isn't that guy doing DuckTales? And it's like, yes, he does DuckTales. Oh man, I mean, I like DuckTales, but are you kidding me? And the very first script that we got was Two-Face Part 1 and 2 by him and Randy Rogel. Randy Rogel, who is like the best dancer I've ever seen. He dances.
also wrote like the Two-Face Part 1 and 2.
Yeah, he was like the co-writer with Alan Burnett on that one, and it's like, oh my God, it's like this guy. He's a song and dance man. He can write the best scripts ever. And we got that script, and I don't recall changing anything in that first script. We pretty much just boarded exactly what was scripted, which was actually a real pleasure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I used to think it was so rare. I felt like I could, if I boarded a script without changing it to make it work better, I wasn't actually doing my job. But
That one you could.
those, yeah. Actually, some of the Elf scripts are like that too. It's like, oh wow, I don't have to change anything. This is great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, Dwayne's Elf scripts are like that. They were funny too.
I also think about the other guys, like the partners.
Oh yeah. Yeah, forget the names. Elf Tales though. The Elf Tales scripts are
Those are
really
good.
good
Those are
too.
really good.
Do you have memory of scripts that were really difficult to work with, or there were a lot to change and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
kind of a struggle? Is there one in particular that kind of stands out?
Actually, Clayface Part 2. Not that it was a particularly bad script. It was just, I was going like, I read the script and it just, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, man, you guys, you're just not like using this guy's powers correctly. And I just went, really? He punches the wall and makes this glass jiggle and almost fall on this guy. I say, you try and draw that. Here, you draw that, Alan. It's like, go for it. It's like, you realize this is like really, we're never going to get this kind of animation. And especially when you go at the end, and I'm like, oh yeah, all this multiple transformation stuff. Are you crazy? Are you insane? And Bruce actually said, well, we got to do it. We got to do it, and there's no time. We can't really change the script. So I remember there's the bit where Clayface goes into the hospital, and there's this whole thing where there's this cop that's actually Clayface in disguise, and he apprehends germs and takes them down, and Batman chases them. And Batman says, wait, if you were a cop, you would have read his rights by now. And things like that. And there was like a whole 4 or 5 pages of this nonsense. So them going downstairs and then Batman chasing him out into the street and then having a fight. Whereas I go and say, I'll take it from here, Batman. He says, wait a minute. And all of a sudden it's like, and he just shoots his hand out, grabs him by the throat and slams him against the wall. And well, obviously this is Clayface. So, and the whole stuff on the where then he goes and takes germs up to the roof and he's going to throw them off the edge of the roof. You know, all that stuff was invented. And it was done mainly because that was also a long script. So I think we also had the excuse that we used to actually cut time down. Consolidate actions.
Was there an episode
Did the writers get mad at you guys ever?
Oh,
for
yeah.
veering off script?
Oh yeah, the two writers on that one, they came into my office and said, "We're gonna get you fired." And I'm like, "Have at it." And the animation came back, and Bruce came into my office and said, "I'll show you something." And so we go into the editorial room, and there's the film, and it's like, it was the work print. It was literally the work print of Feet of Clay Part 2. And we just sat there and watched it, and we're almost crying. It's like, it was so good. I only remember calling one retake because stairs, a sign above the stairs when they go into the stairwell, was spelled Staris. That's the only retake I remember. It was like, what you saw go on the air is exactly what TMS sent to us. It came out. They did such a good job. They must have gotten the crew from Akira onto it or something. But they pulled out all the stops. So it came out so well. Gene McCurdy was really, really happy with it. And yet, when it was shown to the crew after we did the final, I think it was a 10th sound mix or whatever, they showed it to the crew. The writer got up once Clayface, I can't remember, once you leave once you have Germ sitting there going and sobbing and crying on the roof, after he hits after Clayface hits the road and turns into this puddle that reforms, Batman thinks he's killed him. The writer got up and went, "Well, now everyone's going to be turning off their TVs, aren't they?" And he stormed out of the room. And everyone went like, "What the hell, are you drunk?" And I think he was drunk. Anyhow, they were wrong.
Do you have an episode in mind that was...
Well, actually, I almost quit over that episode because I wanted to play up more the Clayface and his assistant were in a gay relationship, and that was sort of like, not played up as. Oh no, it was over the ending where the assistant is going, "Bye, Hank," or whatever Clayface is under his real name was, and he walks off, and then a woman walking by turns out to be Clayface and is laughing uproariously. And I thought, I wanted to do it so that Clayface was sad about it, but it was more melancholy.
Well,
and they shot that down, and I was like,
No, I shot that down.
Okay, well, I was not pleased
because I purposely gave Brad like all the
gay stuff.
the Teddy and the Matt Hagen stuff, because it's like, it's clear, it's the very, to my knowledge, it's overtly, they have a relationship. This is husband and wife. There's no question. There's no question of it. And it's like, there's even that one thing where Brad did brilliantly, where it's like you're going along, some of the best roles I ever had. And he's like looking in the mirror, and he turns himself back into Matt Hagen. He's looking in the mirror, and you have his point of view, and Teddy just sticks his face in there. We can go on. He's so happy. It's like a miracle.
And he shoves him out of the way.
And he just like, he just get out of my way. It's just, and Matt, during that, it shows what I really hated. It makes Matt Hagen is a real villain. Look how he treats the guy.
Right.
And it's like, I love the scene where Brad did it. It's like, it wasn't in the script either. But it's like, here, Matt, have some food. It's a full chicken dinner. He's got like a roast chicken on there. He's got a pot of coffee. He's like, here, have it. And he's like, don't you dare patronize me. And he smacks it out of his hand.
What a cat.
I don't need food. And I don't need you. And he throws Teddy against the wall. And he could have killed him. But, you know, that wasn't in the script. Brad did that. The dialogue is in the script, but that situation was not. You did it where he's sitting there watching TV at home. It's just really funny. He's Clayface. And he's sitting there on this lazy boy sofa. He's like watching TV, you know. And it's like, it's such a home. And then here comes Teddy trying to make everything okay, you know. But he's a giant clay monster.
Self-sustained.
And he's happy with it too. And it's like that, he's one of the few villains that's just straight up happy about being a supervillain. You know? Because it's like, when he's in the studio, he's like, yeah, I got this thing worked out pretty good. You know? You're a giant clay monster. Doesn't care. Anyhow.
Well, since this film has turned 25, and last year the series turned 25, and compared to the media that's out now, from films to TV shows, why do you think that Mask of the Phantasm and the animated series have kind of stood the test of time is still people's like favorite interpretation?
Because other than Wonder Woman, DC can't pull its head out of its butt. When it comes to its superhero movies, they're just like, if everybody watches Mask of the Phantasm, all right, you have no doubt why Bruce Wayne is Batman. He's a good guy. He's motivated. You understand why he's motivated. You can see it clearly. He loves people, you know. And you see like the relationship. I love the relationship between Alfred and Bruce Wayne, Batman, in this. And the fact that, and this movie really does it, because when he's Bruce Wayne's voice is that deep voice. Batman's actual voice is his natural voice. The high-pitched one is put on. That's an act. You go and you watch like Batman Returns, you know, and I just go, why would this guy be Batman? And I think Christopher Nolan's a good filmmaker, you know, and I watch it, but it's like, there he goes in the, it ain't no Batmobile, but there it is. It's like, I'm gonna get you to the hospital. He runs through anybody that gets in his way. He blows shit up. He's like ramming cars. It's like, cops, out of my way. He goes running over the rooftops. God knows what's up there. Someone's cat, someone's dog's up there. Yeah, it's like, you know, he rams through buildings. There was the one where I'm sitting there watching it. It's like where he's coming in the tumbler, I guess it's called. And there's cars, boom, 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 exploding. And in the foreground, there's a couple of kids and mom in a car. And I'm like, well, luckily theirs didn't explode. Was there other people in those other cars? I mean, are you kidding me? And Superman, don't even get me started. Yeah, I mean, I'm watching that movie and I'm just going, okay, there's Kevin Costner. No, son, no. I said, the dog can get away from the tornado. Why don't you run? Why are you standing there? I gotta let the dog out of the car. He opens up there, dog's gone. It's like, the dog can get away. Oh, of course, but of course, Superboy ain't gonna do nothing to save his dad. He can move in an eye blink.
Yeah.
We've already established that.
Yeah, his speed. You couldn't get it.
Oh, no, no. Why would that guy ever be Superman? You know?
Any thoughts?
Never saw it.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
No, I saw the one that Bryan Singer did about 10 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost walked out.
I didn't even go in the theaters. It was like, it wouldn't even dawn on me. It's like you could just tell from the trailer that it's like, this is not my cup of tea. I like Wonder Woman though. Gal Gadot was really good. Batman versus Superman though, I'm just going like, I'm watching the movie and I'm watching it saying, Wonder Woman? What? Where'd she come from? What? Wait a second. What? Wait. The whole horizon is a fireball. What is going? Okay, I give up. And I just turned it off. You know, it was free. It was on cable. I couldn't take it.
I didn't watch that one either. I like all the Marvel.
Yeah, well, see, Marvel, even the Marvel movies that I'm not particularly fond of, are still entertaining. And they all, well, it's kind of like how it was back when I was growing up.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't want to like the Marvel movies. it sort of surprised me when I did, because it was like, and I have to watch them all because they tie into each other, and I'm
Just
into
like
it.
the comics
Just
did.
like the comic book. And it
Back
works
in the
on the
day.
same level. It works on that level of ongoing soap opera. I want to know what happens next.
Yes.
You know,
Stan
I want to
Lee,
know,
that
like,
son of
at
a
the end of the second Ant-Man movie, like, whoa, what the hell is he gonna do now? You know.
No, I remember, like, I'd be reading a comic, I'd be reading Jack Kirby, right? And I just remember the coming of him.
Ooh.
You know, we were waiting for it, and then there's the big fight, and it's like him just can't even, he leaves, you know? And then all of a sudden, you know, I'm reading another comic, I think it was Iron Man, and it makes a reference to Adam Warlock being him, you know, and it's like, check issue, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, man! And I had to go out and buy
it. Yeah.
that just so I understood what was happening in this. It was like actually a brilliant move. And
That's
luckily,
every comic now.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, every
you can't get
comic-
away from it now.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can.
Well, no,
You-
I
you
do
don't
get away
buy it.
from it. Yeah.
This is a comic shop. No, buy the comics that you like.
Well, even though this is animated, what elements would you take to kind of bring into the current media now that would kind of make it more, you know, cohesive or better, in your opinion,
Well,
of this DC universe that's
well,
out now?
it's don't even get the new 50 my butt. Just it's like when you look at like what Bruce, you know, and us, you know, started, and then you take like this world that was created for the series, Harley Quinn, all these characters, right? And then you had Superman adventures and Batman adventures, which also fit, right? And they all fit, and everything dovetailed, and it was kind of like that early Kirby Marvel universe. Everything completely fit. Characters overlapped. They were true to themselves. Like Harley was Harley everywhere she goes. When she broke up with the Joker, she's still Harley. You know, Poison Ivy still Poison Ivy with the same back history. Comics now, I mean, I just go like, why would that guy be Batman? And I have a real problem. I mean, when I was growing up, I mean, I loved the Warren comics. I loved, you know, when Heavy Metal came out, you know, Mobius. I love Richard Corbin. I loved the underground comics, adult comics. Nowadays, you can't let a kid just pick out a comic now, because a lot of it is just nasty. You know?
Yeah.
It's like the Joker is evil to a certain extent, but he was never like this twisted creep. He was creepy, but he wasn't a creep, you know? I mean, I still can't get over Harley with a baseball bat. Why? What's that got to do with anything? You know, why a baseball bat? That's what. Where's Harley Quinn? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Everything she's supposed to be doing is clown influenced, or circus influenced, or Joker influenced. You know, like strange bombs, things like that. Mallets, big stupid guns with a cork in it. Why would you have that as a weapon? Well, you wouldn't. Now we got someone in short shorts, which I don't object to short shorts, but with a baseball bat. And I'm just going, why is that even Harley Quinn? Why don't you just make another character? The New York Yankee or something.
Yanket.
Yankette, yes.
Yanketress.
What are your thoughts? Do you have
About I
pull
don't
any
know.
elements?
I
from
I don't
series?
know. I don't know what comics could do at this or should do at this point. I'm. I've been actually thinking a lot about death lately because Russ Heath just died. He's one of my favorite artists, and I kind of knew him, and I don't know. I tend to follow artists and writers I like more than characters. Sergeant Rocky, whatever. I just like Russ Heath. So what could they do with the characters? I don't know. Whatever they want. I don't care. You know, as long as they pay me to work on it. You know.
I'll never forgive them for what the movies did to Ra's al Ghul. I mean, I just go. I mean, that's
Whatever.
it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. Why would that guy? Why is that Ra's al Ghul? Why is that? You know, and then and just to show you that I'm not just being a curmudgeon about it, because I'll go and I'll look at like Iron Man 3, which has the Mandarin in it, which is a complete reinvention of the Mandarin. Now, Iron Man 3 is not my favorite movie. I have a lot of problems with it. But I had no problem with that version of the Mandarin. It worked, Whereas Ra's al Ghul's like this eternal character, like which Denny O'Neil created and Neil Adams did. It's, that's like Batman's Moriarty, and you can understand it. Like as far as matching minds, you can't outwit Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, he's been there, seen it all.
Yeah, and it's like he's to defeat him is like Batman has to go to the absolute limit. And even at that, Ra's al Ghul has a point. Like in part 2 of Demon's Quest, it was like that was another one where we got the rough script from Denny O'Neil. We got Denny O'Neil to actually write a screenplay for us, and it's his own character, and it was great. I get the second draft. The story editor had rewritten it, and I just had to go to everybody and say, Alan, I'm going with Denny O'Neil. I'm sorry. And, it's just, we got to stick with it. So at the end, Denny O'Neil has this one brilliant moment where he's like, well, what you're talking about, it's like, yeah, you want to help the planet, you want to heal things, but that's going to cost millions of lives. And he's like, 3,450,000, he's like, we've calculated it, yeah. It's like, and it's like Ra's al Ghul's like, well, I'm fine with it, but we'll get rid of all the bad people. It's like, because humanity is a pestilence on the planet. Well, he has a point.
Well, that's actually what I liked about the latest Avengers movie with Darkseid.
You mean Thanos?
Thanos, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Might as well be Darkseid.
Well,
No, you see, but they should have included, because that's not a Thanos thing. Thanos is just straight up in the comics, the Starling. He just he's just in love with death.
Yeah, he wants to
And
impress death.
he's trying to impress his lover, Death. But taking the Ra's al Ghul thing,
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
it's like I killed half the planet, but the rest of the planet's great.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, I don't know. Well, actually, I must confess the same idea has occurred to me on one occasion. Just have it be like totally arbitrary, no race, no creed, no nothing, just half the people gone, right? And he did that. That's what he did. And it's like, oh. On the other hand, that could cause all kinds of problems if you actually did that, and I guess that's what the sequel's going to be.
Don't worry. It'll be all right.
It'll be all right. I know, it'll be all right.
No, it's like it's just that last stone. We all know what that controls. I won't say it.
Well, I like what Dr. Strange said, this is the only way. After, He's like, okay, well, I guess he knows what he's doing. He's Dr. Strange,
What was your chemistry with you two? Like your chemistry working on
That's
the
great.
animated series? Was it
My
just
favorite
like this?
director.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's
No,
like
we
it was
worked
so
together
easy.
before, too.
It's just like you just,
He's your favorite director?
Yeah, Kevin can say to me, "This doesn't work. Fix it." When somebody else is bored, I go, "Okay," and I do it.
Yeah.
I knew we were so in sync that we like the same stuff.
Yeah.
We're both like major Miyazaki fans.
Yeah, no, it's like that. It was like me when we first started out. It was like me, Dan Reba, and Brad, and it was like we had already done this at Deke for years, and we knew each other. And this was like, this was like a, I couldn't have
This
done
is
it.
another show.
Yeah,
We'd done it on Alpha, did it on Ghostbusters.
except that what people don't realize, like they told us, like, oh man, it's a 5-week schedule on storyboards, and Brad and I are like,
Oh,
Dan.
poor us!
yeah, Dan, because I remember once, like Dan and I, we redid a whole act overnight on Starcom to meet a deadline. And the show came out pretty good too, but it was like, Jesus. Like we were on Ghostbusters, we were doing a show a week.
Right. Yeah, I was averaging like a 60-hour week on Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So this Batman was like vacation. I worked a 40-hour week.
Yeah.
Actually, not even. I did my stuff, and then I helped other people meet their deadline.
Yeah.
It was so easy because a lot of it was Tim's character designs. Were just like, they were easy to draw. They were just like a joy.
Yeah. No, the character designs were a pleasure. The backgrounds were great.
They were really good for staging shit in. They
Yeah.
implied the lighting. You could like, it told you what to do.
Yeah. No, and it's like, and you get a model pack before every show. Well, it was almost like it was the same thing we were doing that we kind of were established at D. But I know Bruce wasn't really part of that. But it was kind of the same thing. You'd get like a rough model pack together. They would actually prepare. Bruce was really great at, like, you'd read a script and he'd go, I want Jack Palance to be the villain. And he would do a sketch right then and there. And it's like, boom. You know, it's like, thank you. And you'd hand that out, you know, to everyone. So everyone was on the same page, and the drawings were always inspiring, too.
Yep.
And seems like my crew, though, I always got that one guy that was a pain. You know, there was always like that one person that didn't fit in. You know, me, Brad, and Dan. Whoop, do-do-do-do-do-do.
Don't
Yeah,
name
man,
names.
what am I gonna do? It's like, why? I didn't hire you. You know, and you know that's what Brad's talking about. I was like, I'd get like, hey, what do you think,
got a lot of
Brad?
followers. Be careful.
Yeah, and then Brad would then hand I had the freedom to basically go and hand it off to Brad or Dan, you know, or myself, and we would like just redo the stuff. And no one would go, well, you know, so and so complained about you, you know, and you got to give them a chance. It's like, you know, and I go to Bruce. What do you think of these boards? He's like, oh, geez, who did that? Guy you hired. Sorry, you know.
Well, it's hard to know
I
until you
know.
start working with people.
No, but it's always like everything in everyone's portfolio when they show up looks great. And then when they start working, then you really find out whether they can deliver. But actually on this one, there was no dead weight, you know, this one. It was
Pretty
like-
much had gotten rid of all the dead
Yeah.
weight by the time that one came down.
No, once we got Mark Wallace on the crew, it was like, good, you know. Because Mark, you know, Mark had his own twisted way of going about stuff. I could give him things that really worked to his favor. Like I gave him the Abe Vigoda stuff on this, you know, the Salva Lester stuff. And, you know, it's like, because I knew he would do like this totally frightening. When you pull the newspaper away, I knew that I wouldn't have to change that drawing because Mark will do a great job doing this skull-headed, scary guy.
We've talked about some of the episodes that you enjoyed, but do you have a particular one that's just your favorite out of the whole series? Whether or not you've worked on it, is there one that sticks out?
Well,
I think Two-Face Part 1 was like a really, really, really good episode.
Two-Face Part 1 was probably as good as it gets.
Well, I remember talking about something I didn't do, the sequence where Batman, you boarded it, Batman goes into action, he's leaping on from car to car,
Yeah.
going down the freeway. And it's just like, yeah, that's how this whole show should be like all the time.
Yeah, well, TMS too did a great job. But you see, it's like for me when I think about it, there's things that I love. I think that's probably as good as it gets. Is, you know, Two-Face Part 1. Part 2 had lesser animation, but it was still great.
Well, I really liked, I did the Act 3 of Two-Face
Yeah.
Part 2, and I really, really liked that. Because I was like pulling out of the stops, and I was using the fact that, you know, Two-Face had a split personality, and he had a split face, and so I was doing, all my compositions were symmetrical. Not necessarily down the middle, but diagonally across like this. I mean, for that whole act, I was striving for symmetrical bifurcation in all my layouts and compositions.
And you did the first 2 honest to God dead guys in Saturday morning animation.
Well,
The Mickey Dolenz twins.
that's questionable.
I know.
They're there.
But it's like they're standing there, and it's like you hear a clunk, and you turn around, and there they are. What do you want? And they're sitting there with their eyes open, and they just go, yeah. Now either they're unconscious, but
Sure, I mean, I have no problem with that. They're unconscious. It works either way.
no, but for me, and then I look at Harley's Holiday, and it's like, God, I love the animation that I got on that one, and God, I love just like Harley on her own without the Joker, but then I love Harley Quinn too, although I really wish the animation on the biplane was better, but despite that, I still think that's great. And then I got to do Showdown, you know, with Jonah Hex, and I got to do ironclad dirigibles, and I got to do like cannons, and and 6-shooters. How the hell that get through? It's like Jonah Hex is just blam, blam, blam. We got to do it because broadcast standards just make sure that these are weapons that kids can't get. So it's like you got like Colt Dragoons, which are, and you got cannon, which are totally accurate. They're based on the exact same cannon that were in the monitor, and we, and had Joe Denton, who was he was a prop guy. But I was doing this Western. Joe would go off on weekends, and you come back and say, Kevin, I was out in Tombstone this weekend. And you show pictures of him and his wife, and he's like sitting there and he's got the hat on, and he's just all rigged out with the 6-shooters and stuff. So when that show came, I just went to Joe Denton and said, well, I got the perfect show to do props on. And when it came time, I did like when I was storyboarding, I got to give Joe like, you want to clean up some of my storyboards, Joe? And Joe just inked them with a brush. And the guns are, it's like, so that one came out well just because I don't even think they had to go to the props. I think they just worked right off the storyboard for the layouts. And they got totally into it too. So Showdown, God. There's other shows that are my favorites too, but but yeah.
You talked a little bit about Harley Quinn. Are you surprised that she's blown up as much as
No.
she has? No.
Not at all. I mean,
She's everywhere now.
No, the moment I saw her, it was like I was just, it was like when Paul Dini, he actually came into my office one time, and Paul came in and sat down in my office and he said, you know what? Remember how Cesar Romero always had a moll when he was the Joker? There was always that one girl. I think the Joker needs a girlfriend, don't you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, and he just, and then a couple of weeks later, he's got this sketch, and he's based on his good friend Arlene, and Arlene is, I'm sorry that people never got to see like Arlene and Mark Hamill act together. Brad never got to either. But I was a director, so I was privileged. I got to go to the recordings. And man, I mean, I've been around, I know a lot of really good voice actors, it's like Maurice LaMarche, Rob Paulson, all these people are, they're great. Jill Talley's great, Tom Kenny's great. But there is just like that special moment where you can watch Arlene and Mark Hamill going at it as, especially in Harlequinade, where it's like, I'll buy you a goldfish now! And they're yelling at each other. That was just like in the booth, they're so great. Yeah. The babies! What about the babies?
I'll buy you a goldfish.
Are you a fan of Harley, or were you surprised that she's kind of
I never got to do, I got to do the early aughts episode where she was reimagined, and she was imagined as an idiot talk show host, and I got to do all the stuff while she was the idiot talk show host before she got remade into Harley. So that was fun. I didn't really care about her one way or the other, to be honest. I did get to create. I created one thing, not in the animated series, but in a spin-off comic book, Batman Adventures comic book, that was a Rainbow Bubblegum giveaway comic book, insert comic. No, what you had to do is you had to send in a certain amount of Rainbow Bubblegum bubblegum wrappers that was coinciding with that year's anniversary of like 1776 or something like that. So it would have been like sometime in the 90s, and basically Catwoman and the Riddler were the villains, and Catwoman had her posse of midget umpire hench people, and the script just said, and Riddler and his henchmen. And I said, well, so what are the Riddler's henchmen? And the editor said, oh, I don't know. And so I made them all mimes. So the Riddler's henchmen were all mimes, and they all like go, and like acting stuff out. You know, it was brilliant. I never saw the published comic book, so I don't know how it worked out.
Yeah. And I'll say one thing too. It's not credited, but Isis the cat's my design. Because like it's in the script, Isis the cat, and I drew without a model. I just drew Isis, in that first bit, because I took that storyboard over because I just wanted to draw a cat. So I did that, but it's like Isis the cat's like one of the most fun things I got to do, because Bruce, like, he just didn't want to draw it. He didn't like drawing cats. He doesn't like drawing cats and dogs, or horses. He just didn't want to at that time. So I drew the cat, and lo and behold, the cat went through. But I think Isis probably, someone must have cleaned up the drawing at some point or another. I don't know who did though. Could have been Mike Goguen. I'm not sure.
Which episode was that?
I think it was like episode 7. Yeah, it was like the first cat one. Cat in the Claw, part 1.
Okay. Well, I remember you saying you didn't keep copies of the storyboards.
I kept a copy of that story. I didn't bring it with me, so.
Well, before we go to if you guys have questions, since it is Batman Day, I wanted to ask you guys, why do you think Batman is such a popular character after almost 8 years?
Because he's a great character. It's just a great character. It's just Bill Finger and Bob Kane. It's just a great concept. It's like there's a few guys that really, like, for instance, Kirby could do it too. Starlin could do it. They just come up with characters that just boom, they just hit you, and they're just, you don't question it. Just looking at the design for Batman when you're a little kid, it grabs you. And you love the fact that here's this guy, he's a guy, he's not super, he's not an alien or anything, he's a guy, and the only reason that he's Batman is that he cares about us, he cares about everybody, and he cares about justice, and he's richer than anything, and that doesn't make him not want to help you. Actually, it's like that's what enables him to help you. And he trains, he goes to the absolute limit to be everything, to be able to help everybody. And that's what I don't get about the Batman they got now.
Well, I remember like the actor who played him in the Nolan movies, I'm blanking on his name. Christian Bale. There's an interview around the time one of the Batman movies came out. He said Batman's superpower is he's completely present at all times, which I thought was an interesting take on the character.
I don't know.
I think that kind of works.
Anyway,
He's always right here, right present, which it seems hardly human, but
yeah, I don't know. So I would see that guy and I would just go like, okay, you ain't Zorro, man. Because, the whole thing about Zorro is like, you got Zorro. I mean, Batman is based on Zorro.
it's also based on the Shadow.
Yeah, on the Shadow.
Which I thought, in answer to your question, it's like I don't actually know. I think it's interesting that Batman has legs, but the shadow comes and goes.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure exactly why that is.
Well, it's the same thing. There's just a few characters that you don't question. You know, they're just. It's like Kirby was like a genius. I don't know where. It's like, you know, boom, right out starting it. Captain America. You know, boom. It's like, you know, you guy with the shield. You know, you get it. You totally get it. You're there with him. Thor, same thing. Never question. The God of Thunder is a superhero. It's like, why does that work? When I was a little kid, I never questioned it. Never questioned it. Galactus shows up. Holy crap. You know, here's like this giant guy that's going to eat the planet. Why is it a guy with a helmet? I don't know. You know, does he go to the bathroom? I mean, what is that like? I mean, it's like, why would he be a man? You don't question it. It's like, it's the Silver Surfer. You don't question it. It's like Batman, Superman, it's like, boom. Yeah, it just works. It's like Submariner, yeah, I love it.
Well, Kirby didn't create Submariner.
No, I'm talking about just characters. It's like Submariner, you know, oh, yeah, he goes away. Oh, here, I like him. Aquaman, yeah, okay, Aquaman, okay, you know. But Batman, no, you gotta have him all the time.
Hey, Blabbermouths. Just kidding.
Like us.
So somebody is going to be using this room at 6 o'clock back here to film up another podcast. But you guys can hang out up front. And I know some people brought things to get signed and
I'm
sketches.
out of here.
You leaving? You done?
I'll sign.
Well, you guys are awesome. Thank you. Thank you, London. It's all came together because of the history of Batman. They contact me every year. They're like, hey, are we doing this? And every year we'll do it.
We need to have another anniversary.